I wanna hear your thoughts. I wanna hear your sound. And mama always told me to shout and speak my mind out loud. Come on and talk when you got the time. Freedom, want you on the line. We wanna hear from you. You got it going. Let your voice shine. Platform yours is not just mine. We wanna hear from you. You got it going. Talk to me. Talk to me. Talk to me. Talk to me. You're gonna shine. Talk to me. Talk to me. Talk to me. Talk to me. You're gonna shine.
The song you just heard was Talk to Me, the Freedom Savage podcast theme song. You can listen to the full version of this song wherever you listen to music. Don't forget to check out 741 Quarantine Studio Remix featuring Quay and Douglas's new mixtape, Freedom Savage, the mixtape. The links to all songs will be under this video in the description below.
We are in our first segment, Freedom of Speech. I have a familiar face with me. You guys already know her, Tati. Introduce yourself for the ones that don't know you already. Pronouns, the whole gag. This is like your 100th.
I'm Tati. My Instagram, I am Tati, 4eyes _ pronouns, she, her.
Trigger warning for everything we're going to discuss in this episode. This episode is really heavy as far as the topics is concerned. Trigger warning all the way around. I guess for all of our crime buff girlies out there, we did want to do an episode where we kind of focus on just bad shit that's happened. A lot of you may already know 2 weeks ago, a 19-year-old girl's body was found in a walk-in oven in the bakery of a Walmart in Canada. I will be showing a video detailing the incident along with reading a report of what also happened.
Walmart employees have voiced confusion over the tragic death of a 19-year-old staff member inside a walk-in oven because they generally can't close on their own. In a series of TikTok videos, staff and former employees have been sharing insights into the inner mechanics of working inside a Walmart bakery. It comes on the back of Gursimran Kaur's tragic death last weekend. The 19-year-old girl became stuck inside the walk-in oven of the store she worked at in Halifax, Canada. It doesn't make any sense, a Walmart employee named Mary said in a TikTok video showcasing the oven. This door does not close by itself. It doesn't latch. It's designed not to do that. You have to push it and hear the click. Mary demonstrated stepping inside of the oven and utilizing the emergency release from inside of the oven, showing that it is a simple push feature on the other side of the door. I'm not trying to theorize or form a conspiracy. It's just hard to wrap my head around it when Walmart's bakery ovens are so safe to use, she said in a comment. Police are investigating Kaur's death, and the Walmart superstore remains closed more than a week on from the tragedy. She has been remembered as a beautiful girl who came to Canada with big dreams.
I do not know how to pronounce the girl's name, and I do not want to pronounce it wrong. They had said that she had walked into the oven with the intent of cleaning it, but ended up getting locked in. There was a 911 call made when she actually got stuck in the oven. The roughly 90-second call published by the Daily Mail showed a dispatcher describe the incident as a technical rescue call at the store. Female is locked in an oven in the bakery. Oven is on, unsure if the staff are able to turn it off, the dispatcher said in the audio. Soon after, however, another official said that the person was out of the oven upon arrival, and the matter was being dealt with by regional police. Police have not said how the woman got inside the oven or provided further public updates amid their probe. However, the location will remain closed until further notice, according to a Walmart spokeswoman. How was she found? On the night of October 19th, Kaur's, I think that's the girl's last name, again, forgive me if I'm saying it wrong, mother allegedly tried to find her daughter after not seeing her for about an hour. The community GoFundMe stated. She grew worried when Kaur's phone was unreachable, which the fundraiser organizers said was unusual since Kaur generally had her phone turned on during the day. The Maritime Sikh Society, again, forgive me if I'm saying it wrong, then alleged her mom eventually discovered her inside the oven. The family's sufferings are unimaginable and indescribable. They need your support to get through this horrific time, read the fundraiser's description, which added that all of the donations will go to the family. A local member of this community told NBC News that they saw Kaur's mother the day the incident happened. She was really distraught. She was really in great pain, said one of the board members. of the community. This was a pretty heartbreaking and disturbing situation. Before me and Tati speak, I do want to preface that our intent is not to make a total spectacle out of this girl's or and like, add any more trauma or stress to the family. We, like many others, are just lightly talking about it and offering some questions that we're pretty sure a lot of us have. With that being said, Tati, you can give your overall opinions on the matter.
It is heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking that her mother had to find her that way. I guess what's the controversy now is how did she get stuck inside?
I know that a lot of Walmart workers from like all over the country made TikTok.
I'm pretty sure everyone has seen a lot of TikToks of Walmart employees demonstrating how their ovens work, demonstrating how there's emergency locks inside. Obviously, at every Walmart, you have to push it. You have to push and lock. You have to even if it's open, wide open, and you let it go, it's not going to just close and lock on its own. It still stops. There's maybe different types of walk-in ovens, but ultimately each one has an emergency button on the inside. Each one is hard to close. So it's like, how? And it's heartbreaking to kind of think that maybe it was done on purpose. How could that even happen? I know this distinctively reminded me of the Kanika Jenkins case, which was also heartbreaking.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people bring that case back up.
Because she was found in the freezer. So it's like, I don't know if it was purposely done. I don't know how that Walmart's oven is built. I don't know.
We have yet to receive anything. I don't even know what's being done as far as the investigation. Why didn't nobody attend to her and her only, just on instinct?
Evacuating the whole Walmart wasn't really necessary. Not that, obviously it's an emergency, but try to get is it a plug?
From what we did hear, it doesn't seem like a lot of effort was really put into getting her out either. I feel like if I was a fellow employee, I would have been hitting things, breaking things.
You're in Walmart, get an axe.
You're literally in Walmart.
And you're in the kitchen. There's fire extinguishers around. Try to break the glass because it's hello.
To me, it was do something. You can't help that a lot of people just have questions. I could see why people feel like foul play is possible here. That's all the information.
We have.
That's a very, very, very scary way to. And I really just feel bad for her and just the family and just for a mom to.
Yes, that's crazy.
You're a parent. That shit couldn't even cross your temple of how would you react? What would you do? You would fucking lose it.
Right.
More than lose it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's I just hope that answers are given, that the truth of just what
happened
just comes about,
Honestly, I fear it won't.
You don't think so? But the difference between her case and Kanika Jenkins' case was Kanika Jenkins, to me, I feel like we also have more to go off of. With her
things like that.
We had more to go off of who she was with, the live video.
That's why I feel like the truth probably won't even come out, because the difference between Kanika Jenkins and this one, it was investigating witnesses and footage and things like that. With this, it's nothing.
I don't know how these ovens are made. I don't know the setup. I don't know the lifestyle of working in a Walmart bakery. They said that once that oven is on, you literally it's common sense to not walk in.
No one is going to walk into an oven that is on. And if it's your job right now to clean it, you're going to make sure that it's off. Clearly, from what happened, if it's on, it can't be opened, right? So how she got in there?
I can't even blame some of the conspiracy girlies from writing think pieces and shit about this, because it's it does give conspiracy. And it frustrates me that it does. This should be something that's a 1, 2, 3, what the fuck happened?
Exactly.
It's giving something. We do wish the family our best. And we do hope that more comes out about this situation and that really the truth comes out about this situation.
The truth.
Really the truth. All right, you guys, we are in Freedom of Speech Part 2. We will be discussing the Menendez brothers. Some of you guys are probably wondering why I didn't just make this case 1 of Savage Court. This case was so damn big and it had so many layers that I didn't really feel like we would have been giving it its fair justice, tackling it as like a passive thing in Savage Court. The Menendez brothers case did resurface in social media. There's been a lot of discussion surrounding them again as of recently. We felt to hone in on it as its own personal topic, but we will be discussing who we do feel like is guilty and who is on our shit list, because I have a shit list of a handful of people. Okay. Okay. And Tati will get into it later, but it was said that there is work being done in an attempt to actually release these brothers, hopefully before the end of the year. Again, trigger warning throughout this episode. I should title this episode Trigger Warning. Like, honestly, I will be referring to a bunch of notes that I have here, okay? I took a lot of fucking notes. This has to be like the most notes I've ever taken on the topic.
Really?
Yeah. This was like a lot of shit here. Erik and Lyle Menendez were two brothers that were part of a rich family in Beverly Hills. Their mom and dad, Kitty and Jose Menendez, ended up having their lives taken by their sons, Erik and Lyle. And Erik and Lyle were sent to jail for life as a result of their crimes. And this all happened in the late 80s, early 90s. However, a lot of information during and since then regarding why they did what they did to their parents has come to the surface. The brothers' countless testimonies of their terrible childhood and stories from their family members and other witnesses. It became evident over the years that the brothers were horrifically abused and emotionally neglected by both of their parents, and that they took their parents' lives as a way of escaping the hell that was their lives. Tati has done way more research on this case than I have. However, I did immerse myself into two particular documentaries that Tati recommended me to watch that we will be basing a lot of our information from. Said documentaries are the Peacock documentary titled Menendez and Menudo Boys Betrayed, which not only provides insight to the abuse that the brothers suffered, but also the abuse of the members of the Menudo boy band that was signed by Jose Menendez, being that he was head of RCA Records at the time. The other documentary is an A&E documentary titled The Menendez Erik Tells All, which is basically Erik Menendez's accounts of everything that's happened via a phone call from prison. He gets into his entire childhood life, what happened during the night of the the trial itself, everything that's happened afterwards, up until like how he's currently doing. This documentary was older though. The Peacock documentary aired this year. This documentary was as of 2017. The goal here with our discussion of the Menendez brothers is to share our own opinions and analysis about everything that's happened with these brothers. When I first heard about the case, I just thought that they were two random guys that killed their parents. I didn't even know that they were rich or that there was this big abuse aspect to the case. I just know that Law & Order had this docuseries called Law & Order True Crimes, the Menendez Brothers. And they did kind of like do a brief thing about it. I never looked into it. I just always saw the commercials for it. There was a recent Netflix documentary, or was it just like a series?
No, it wasn't a documentary, more so a series.
More so a series regarding the brothers and the murders, which led to them trending again. That's actually what got them trending again, because this Netflix thing kind of like went viral. Tati, you did watch it. And I know that it was met with some backlash, even from the brothers themselves. There were several inconsistencies that the Netflix show was said to have had. Do you mind explaining what they were?
So first off, the Netflix series starts off with the murders. Like, the Netflix series doesn't necessarily start off like as far as their childhood and going up. It starts off with the murders, and it kind of like starts the audience off looking at them badly. Not justifying their crimes, but watching it from episode 1, it just starts you off with seeing these two brothers unaliving their parents. I guess a main thing that stuck out to me that I did not like that Netflix did was not a lot, but it kind of hinted in certain scenes that their relationship was like incestual and like they loved each other or looked at each other in like an incest type of way. And that's crazy because it was not like that. And I don't know why they would even make it that way in any type, like, I don't know. But the incest part that Netflix tried to put in there, that's not true. Also the part with them spending money. Now, in real life, after they did their crime, one of the brothers was overly spending, which was Lyle, I believe. So it's said that Lyle Menendez spent about, I believe, $300,000 from the time of the murders up until they were caught.
Yes.
He was overly spending. However, in the documentary, Erik explained how all of Lyle's life, he was taught by his mother, Kitty. Anytime it was like problems in the family or problems going on or anything like that.
Immersed in retail therapy.
Both of them, they would overly spend, shop, buy things just out of boredom and just to like, deal with their emotions. That's how Lau grew up and that's what he learned. So that's what he did after the fact of the murders. However, Erik didn't. Over the course of and getting caught, Erik only spent about, I believe, 5,000 or 9,000. I forget the exact number. The Netflix special, it portrays both of them as overly spending and going so crazy about how much you're going to get from the will and from insurance and all of that, when that wasn't really true in real life. Said from the brothers' moms themselves, they were just living day by day. Like they were trying to be as normal as possible and do what they do, which was spending money. They were rich. Those two things bothered me about the Netflix special, the incest and the spending.
Those were kind of the main things that everybody.
Yeah, that was basically the main thing. Even above all, it was the incest part. They started it off with them parents and then being incestual to each other. Then it's just like you're looking at them in a light that you shouldn't be.
This is like the millionth like TV show, movie remake, or just I want to say like reimagination of like what went on with them.
Like, there's many. Netflix just so happened to go viral. But there's many that has come out in 2015, 2017, 2016. Like,
we're not recommending that you don't watch the Netflix one. Just watch the Netflix one with a lot of really big open perspective. Those do happen to be the biggest inconsistencies that might send a different narrative out to the brothers. That's not true. So if you're going to watch it for entertainment or just watch it to watch it, then do that. But if you're watching as a way of getting insight into their case and what happened to them, no.
No.
Don't do that. We actually recommend that you watch Menendez and Menudo Boys Betrayed and the Menendez Murders, Erik Tells All, if you really want some true insight on this case.
And there's a few other documentaries that they did as well with the brothers talking. It's more than one on Prime. There's a few on Prime, a few documentaries, and then there's also Peacock. I believe there's actually 2 on Peacock. Get into those. Prime, go on Peacock and look up those documentaries. Get into those if you want like actual facts. You'll be listening to past attorneys, get the actual facts before creating your own opinion on the brothers. Do not base it solely off of Netflix.
Got it. The dad, Jose Menendez, who was a Cuban immigrant, came to America, became successful. He was the head of the record label RCA. Rich, again, like I said, they lived in Beverly Hills. I really want to stress that they were rich. I really do want to.
Along with being rich legally with the record label, he also had mob ties.
Not good to his family, obviously, given the abuse that we're about to get into, and being that he allegedly was also stepping out on his wife with some chick in New York. Erik did say that he was first molested by his brother Lyle, which Lyle ended up sharing. Lyle was only really mimicking what their dad was doing to him because the dad started molesting Lyle first. Lyle is the oldest brother. Erik is the youngest. Jose started Erik when Erik was 6. It started off with massages. He told Erik that this was their special secret and that this was just to help him practice and become a better athlete because both of his sons were heavily immersed in playing tennis. This was just him loving him, literally what all child parents say. Like, we see it on Law and Order all the time. Like, it did, unfortunately and horrifically, end up becoming sexual at the age of 7. It began with oral, but by the time Erik got around 9 or 10, was when there was actual penetration and intercourse. Jose would even shower with his sons. He would also beat them. When he was teaching Erik how to swim, he was basically drowning him and pulling him out of the water just before like he passed out. And Jose told Erik, over the years, like throughout countless times that he would abuse him, if you run away or tell somebody what he did to him, that he would kill his son. And he even explained to his son in graphic detail how he would go about killing him. Like, it was fucking sick. Growing up, Erik would have to eat lemons and squeeze lemons into his food to get his father's taste out of his mouth. And Lyle would literally try to like confine himself into his bedroom just out of the fear of walking out into their house. He would even use the bathroom in his bedroom. The mother is a whole nother story. The mother was described as strange, unhinged, was said to had several mental health issues going on. She was also abused when she was a child. She was an alcoholic and extremely dependent on prescription drugs. Sis was in need of a major juicy juice.
She allowed like this abuse to happen. She allowed it to go on. She knew when it was going on. If family members were over and it was going on, she would tell them not to go in that part of the
Yeah,
house.
like don't go into that part of the house.
Erik is sleeping or Lyle doesn't feel good or leave him alone. Don't go to his room.
But they did also say that she was also playing a role in abusing Lyle specifically. Like she would have him sleep with her.
She did that with Lyle. She did not do that with Erik. He stated that he didn't want to tell his mom because he didn't want her to feel
Burden her.
like she has to save them, you know,
Yeah.
and put herself in danger of their father. But when he did finally come out to his mom about what was happening, which was when he was 18 years old, which I think it was about a week prior to the killings, she basically was like,
I
yeah,
know.
I know.
So like, sis said she knew. They did say that she was heavily ill. She wrote tons of suicide letters, tried to OD on pills at one point, and when a psychiatrist recommended that she be put in a psychiatric care facility, Jose kind of stopped that. It was also said that she was afraid of leaving Jose. She feared life without him more than life with him. I highly wonder whether or not there was a DV aspect to this whole situation, not giving her any type of light or leeway. Because if you ask me, she's on my shit list. She's
Right.
not a
They
mom in
both
my
are right where they need to be, for real.
for real. I'm sorry.
Because a lot of times when it comes to these situations about a mother knowing, usually the father would be the one that, whether he's in prison or whether he's dead and the mother's just living life. No, she's right where she needs to be at.
Because on top of the abuse, they both emotionally neglected their sons.
Yes.
The mother would even tell them, like, I don't love you guys. I wish you guys were never born. Like, she would really go on these whole rants where she'll just tell him all of this stuff. And people, witnesses and family members, their tennis coach even admitted to like never really hearing her tell them that, like, I love you or anything like that, or good job on this or anything like that. The mom would even lock Erik in a closet for like days at a time. And he would have to hide food in there just to eat and use the bathroom with whatever Tupperware she provides him. We're not even touching the surface of like all that they went through on a day-to-day basis growing up.
When you go through trauma as a child, and I'm talking about every human being, when you go through trauma, a lot of times, sometimes it's so much that what the brain does to protect you is suppress a lot of memories so that it doesn't damage you. These are things they're recalling that they remember. So who knows what they may not even remember. You know, something could have happened that they forgot because it was so much. It was so much. They lived this life every single day from the time they were like 5, 6 years old. They only had about like 5 years of innocence, and you can't even remember that. Who remembers when they were 1 and 2? Like, you know, so all they remember is abuse their whole life.
Keep in mind that we have barely scratched the surface with all of the abuse that they have endured. And to be honest with you, it's best that we leave it right where we do as far as the abuse aspect of things, just to give you guys a glimpse of how bad the brothers said that this was for them. Because, and I don't even know if YouTube will allow all of that.
It was ongoing. When the murders happened, Erik's last sexual abuse from his father was about 3 days prior to the others. The abuse was still going. It never stopped.
Still ongoing.
It never stopped.
A week before, Erik had actually made plans to go to college. It was going to be his opportunity to finally escape his family, but then his dad told him that he wasn't staying on campus. Like, he wasn't going to live on campus. He was still going to be home for most of the week, even when he does go to school. Frustrated him because it was like, he really wanted to escape living on his parents.
I don't want to say who had it worse. They all had it bad. Lyle went to college at Princeton. That's all the way in New Jersey. Maybe it's psychological as well or mentally as well with the father. He felt like one kid got away. So I got to hold on to one, which was Erik, because he was the youngest.
Probably.
Because that part, I didn't understand why he didn't want Erik to go away to college when Lyle went to college all the way in New Jersey.
The mom did end up confessing to Erik that she knew the whole time. I think it was right after his dad had attacked him.
I could only imagine what his mental state was like after hearing her say that.
And the dad was furious. The dad was furious that he told Lyle. And at that point, they really feared for their lives. Erik was really under the impression that their parents were going to take them out.
Kill them, yes.
The day before the I
think they went to Seattle.
They went to some marine dock, hopped on this boat, and basically just started to like talk.
Like they knew of each other's abuse. They didn't know how bad it was.
And this was after they had bought earlier that day. The morning of the murders, Erik did leave the house. He drove around for a bit, even went to church just to try to like relieve himself of like stress and like, find some peace. Lyle did stay back to try to talk with the parents, but it ended up not even working. They called for Erik to come back. They both got into another scuffle with their parents and was forced to stay in the house. This is when their anxiety took over and they got the guns, went into the den and took the lives of their parents, powed their parents. I don't, YouTube. They both described it as just going in and just opening fire. Like they didn't.
Yeah. It wasn't really much thought.
From all the information that was given, it seemed like Lyle was really like hell bent on making sure that the mother suffered more, because they said that he turned around and like fired more shots at her. So to me, that also spoke to like, this is because you knew.
Yeah, it's like you could have protected us type of thing. After the happened, they actually wait because it's a shotgun. It's loud. They actually waited a little while because they thought the cops would be coming. But after a while, nobody came.
Then eventually, that's when Lyle decided, let's call the cops.
Because at the same time, they were shocked themselves.
That they did what they did, yeah.
It was shocked, but obviously not in a way everybody around, like the police thought. Like he was shocked because he just did that. And like whatever mental state his mind was in. After
the situation did happen, they did try to like establish an alibi for themselves, but that kind of failed. They tried to go to a movie theater, but the time the movie would have started still gave them like a solid alibi. So they went and got rid of the guns. Once the police started to conduct their investigation, they went to stay with their tennis coach. Over time, that's when Lyle started to like immerse himself in retail therapy, and Erik would literally just stay and play tennis for like hours, just literally as a way. They were both literally just coping
in their own ways, really.
In their own ways. But the spending is what triggered the police. Now we're about to enter the trial. This is what affected the defense's case, and this pissed me the off. This psychologist is also on the top of my shit list. 2 months after the murder, Erik confessed to Dr. Ozil, their psychologist, that him and Lyle killed his parents. He was unburdening himself. They got into an argument with Dr. Ozil, who basically told them that he wouldn't go to the police unless they become business partners with him. So he was looking for money.
Yeah.
He was looking for money. Also had a mistress that he was venting to about what they were telling him. And this mistress was listening in on the sessions, and Dr. Ozil was also recording the sessions. When his mistress broke up with him, she called the cops, and that's kind of what set everything off. But what really pissed me off about the trial was recorded therapy sessions, although they were wrongfully recorded and shouldn't have been recorded at all, they were still admitted into the trial. And this hurt the defense. The doctor-patient confidentiality was nullified, being that Lyle had threatened him in the midst of their argument. So he was allowed to legally say that he was in fear of his life, even though he wasn't afraid of a mother thing. He basically was saving his ass. It helped him not be like, disbarred and whatnot. I don't give a how rich I was. Girl, I would have put, if you and Beverly Hills, do not go to this mother right here. Kind of fed the prosecution's narrative that this was premeditated and
killed their parents for money.
Yeah. Erik did talk to a psychiatrist during this whole trial investigation, and the psychiatrist did confirm that he had child abuse syndrome, basically. Shout out to their lawyer, Leslie Abramson.
Attorney?
She was no joke, okay? She was no joke. She was a warrior. She stood on business. She talked her shit. She was
business, for real.
And she was very outspoken. She went above and beyond.
You want to convict him for his crime? Fine. You want to victimize him more? Not fine. Do you have another question?
There was a political push for there to be a window from the prosecution. The prosecutors were confident that the brothers for money, which couldn't have been further from the truth when you really look at it. The media made a mockery of the brothers, discounted their defense, and painted them in a negative light through articles, late night comedy specials. Erik even talked about how there was a footage of him smiling and how that was like widely misinterpreted by the media. He literally smiled after Leslie had whispered him a joke, and he kept a smile on his face as a defense mechanism. And the media painted it as him being smug and arrogant, when in all reality, he was on mad antidepressants and literally was fighting suicidal thoughts. This situation took a huge toll on him and his brother's mental health. Both brothers gave a very emotional and heartbreaking and compelling testimony of what they endured. There was 51 witnesses, like mad of their family members testified. Eventually, the first trial did end in a hung jury. There were jury members that felt sympathetic for the brothers and believed their defense. But this would now mean that there would have to be a whole nother trial. And it became a conversation on whether or not child abuse can be an excuse for murder, although that was not the defense's goal.
Yeah.
That wasn't what they were gulling for. They were trying to move for
manslaughter, I believe, right?
Imperfect self-defense. That was the term that they were using.
Okay.
It is now a term that has gained a lot more understanding in the legal space, but then that wasn't the case. 2 new prosecutors did take on the second trial, and they were tough. I mean, the judge literally stopped being empathetic. I really feel like the judge felt mad pressure. The political push for the prosecutors to win grew with the OJ trial. When OJ was acquitted, they felt like, okay, we really got to win this one now.
Yeah. They felt like they had to win this one to basically kind of like redeem themselves from the OJ trial, which is why they pushed so hard to get the second trial to not even mention any child abuse.
Which the judge ended up granting.
They called it the abuse excuse.
Irrelevant from the actual murders itself, when it really had everything to do with the actual
murder. It had everything to do with it. So when the second trial came around, it was like, what could the defense really say? They can't.
Yeah, it's like they took away their whole defense.
Yeah, they took away their whole defense, which was the goal to basically redeem themselves of the OJ trial.
And then Leslie Abramson's credibility ended up being tanked once it was revealed that she told the psychiatrist to cut out certain parts of his notes. She felt like some of the statements that he had wrote in his notes that Erik had said sent the message that the murders were premeditated. So she had told him, if you still want to testify, you're going to need to take this out.
I feel like that's the job of a lawyer, is it not?
She's a defense attorney. They're going to do whatever they need to do.
As a defense attorney, your job is to get them off.
Yeah.
Or lesser charge or whatever.
The judge really forced the jury into a corner. They had no choice but to find the brothers guilty. Then the whole question of whether or not they should get came into play, and the juries just, I guess, went for life without parole.
Life without parole.
Which, if you ask me, they barely should really be in prison for life without parole, let alone executed. It didn't even help with the appeals either, because the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ended up upholding the conviction. So from what the documentary said, this case became the birth of court TV. It's why court TV kind of became so popular. And now we have like court TV shows. Tati, what's going on now as far as that case is concerned?
I'm going to read from my notes as well.
New developments in the Menendez Brothers case. Erik and Lyle will get a new day in court in mid-December. During that December 11th appearance, LA County District Attorney George Gascon will ask a judge to re-sentence the brothers for the murder of their parents. It comes after the brothers' attorney said he would ask Governor Newsom for clemency. Their attorney also said he is looking to ask the judge during a November hearing to sentence the brothers for manslaughter, which could pave the way for their immediate release.
So they set a hearing for December 11th. This hearing is to consider a petition asking that the brothers be resentenced to 50 years to life in prison with the possibility of parole. Considering their age, this will potentially make them eligible for parole right away. Well, the first hearing is for November 25th. On November 25th, the hearing has been set on a defense petition for reconsideration in the case, which would make them immediately eligible for parole as well. So they have 2 hearing dates coming up, November 25th and December 11th. Now, if the things work in the defense's favor, the brothers could potentially be home in time before the holiday season. That's the reason why they set November date and a backup date, which was December. So they're asking the judge to send them to a lesser crime voluntary manslaughter and give them time served. At this time, the Menendez brothers did, I believe, 35 years so far. The defense team has also submitted papers to Governor Gavin Newsom requesting clemency for the brothers, in which the governor said he would support that request. Basically, he's in favor of the Menendez brothers getting out. And the governor announced that his office will be asking that the brothers be resentenced. So the Menendez brothers right now currently has the support of the governor. Now with the prosecutors, so obviously their defense attorneys are going to argue for them, and then there's going to be prosecutors that are supposed to, want them to stay in jail. However, the prosecutors filed a 56-page motion saying that the brothers have demonstrated, and I quote, demonstrated exceptional post-conviction conduct, a critical factor in assessing their suitability for release, and have demonstrated they are no longer a public safety risk, such that their current sentence is no longer in furtherance of justice. So the prosecution is also saying that they served their time, and at this point they should just be let out because they're no longer, well, they never was, but they're not a safety risk. Also has been said that both of them, Erik and Lyle Menendez, has done like a lot of work inside the prison as well, helping other inmates. They've continued their education in prison. They've done a lot of good things in prison separately because they wasn't even put into the same prison until I think 2018, if I'm not mistaken. Separately, even they both have done exceptional work with them themselves, with other inmates in their prisons. The prosecutors wrote that, quote, the childhood abuse and trauma incurred by both defendants in this case is sufficient to invoke court consideration under a new law that allows resentencing certain cases. In court papers filed last year, attorneys for the brothers pointed to two new pieces of evidence they contend corroborate the allegations of long-term sexual abuse at the hands of their father. A letter written by Erik Menendez to one of his cousins in early 1989, 8 months before the August 1989. Erik Menendez, he wrote to his cousin Andy Cano. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly.
Yeah.
Andy from an overdose in 2003. However, his mom is the one who discovered this letter. In the letter, Erik Menendez writes, and I quote, I've been trying to avoid dad. It's still happening, Andy, but it's worse for me now. I can't explain it. I never know when it's going to happen, and it's driving me crazy. Every night I stay up thinking he might come in. I need to put it out of my mind. This letter was admitted and accepted as evidence to getting the Menendez brothers out, and it basically supports the sexual abuse allegations. And recent allegations by Roy Rosello, a former member of the Puerto Rican boy band Menudo, that he was sexually abused by Jose Menendez as a teenager. So the Peacock documentary of Roy Rosello, his case is actually one of the reasons why the Menendez brothers hopefully will be getting out.
The Peacock documentary detailed Roy Rosello's experience in the Menudo boy band and what he and some of the members went through and the abuse that they suffered at the hands of their manager and guy that basically put them together, Eduardo Diaz. And he goes into a lot of detail about that in the Peacock documentary. Is really heartbreaking. The only reason why he was able to somewhat even recover from a lot of what he went through as a child was because he became evangelical and found God and, immersed himself into church life. But he is still hurt and bothered by a lot of what's happened to him. And he has offered to work with the Menendez brothers to see if something can be done, because he not only wants justice for them, but to also see Eduardo Diaz's ass in jail too. Him and Jose Menendez actually worked hand in hand.
Jose Menendez, like we explained earlier, he was an executive at RCA Records that signed the Menudo boy band. Eduardo would have these auditions, basically rally up the boys, and he would bring them to Jose Menendez's house, and Jose would handpick. Now, mind you, in Jose's position, that wouldn't really be his job to handpick who's in his band and things like that. He's just the owner of the record label. He's not manager of these things, But Eduardo would bring the boys to Jose's house, and Jose would handpick who would be a Menudo member. Also, these boys them, and so on and so on.
Roy Rosello also said that Jose him as well.
A declaration from Rosello, who alleged Menendez him on 2 other occasions in New York, was attached to the court papers filed on behalf of the Menendez brothers last year. Roy Rosello's story is a big key part in why this case was even reopened and being considered of them getting out. The Menendez brothers' attorneys argue that the new evidence warranted in the case being opened. The 2 evidence that warranted in this case even being reopened so that they can get out now before the year is over is this letter and Roy Rosello's statement and the whole nine of what Roy Rosello is doing to get justice for himself, the brothers, the other Menudo boy band members. At this point, all they need is a judge to basically grant their release.
I'm hoping that
And very,
I'm
very,
about to
very
say. So
confident.
obviously, as you
Yeah.
can tell, we
I'm very
definitely
confident
support
in
it.
that. I honestly feel like they will be out before this year is over. For 25th, really, because the December 11th hearing date is the defense attorney made that hearing date as a backup if November 25th doesn't go how they want it to. But I honestly feel like it's not even needed. They got clemency from their governor. Even the prosecution is in favor of letting them go.
At the end of the day, I also kind of feel like it's time served. Like, let's get this over with, please.
Yes, that's what the prosecution also says. So the
Like,
prosecution,
they went to jail already. They spent all these years. Like, come on, get
yes.
out.
So they have a lot of support. Obviously, that is currently how the case
Right.
is basically at its end.
I'm just going to tell y'all who's at the top of my shit list because I know we told y'all a lot of information. The parents, obviously, Kitty and Jose Menendez, like Tati said, I don't wish death on nobody, but my girl Karma. Didn't I always say that, girl? My girl Karma, she always link up with her people and she always handle things, okay? Dr. Ozil needs to go. Judge, all of the prosecutors, go to hell. Who's on your shit list? The Ninth Circuit. Not only their abusers, but anybody that practically did things you could say in support of the parents. Because shit.
It's also the power of money. You see,
Yeah.
family members come over to their house. They obviously like going to their house. Obviously, they took care of their family. They had money. You're really going to go against the one that's paying your bills. Like,
when you look at the child abuse aspect of this case, it just seemed like conversations America at the time wasn't ready to have.
I feel like how that case went, had it been 2024, it never would have went that way. The abuse excuse, that would never, like,
so
clock it. That's the kid, water. What is an abuse excuse? Even in trial, if you do look this up on your own and you look at the pictures in trial, they also had on the podium that something about not enough hugs or whatever.
Yes. Oh my God, that's so crazy that you say that because I actually wrote that down in my notes. David Kahn, who was the prosecutor for the second trial, there was a sign that he had shared during the trial that said, "Too much tennis, not enough hugs."
Oh, the parents didn't love them enough or hug them enough that they went crazy and killed them. No,
Like,
they're shitting on their whole childhood.
And that's not shit that you would make up. The shit they testify to, have you seen their videos? Have you seen the testimony? Like, they have years of abuse. You think somebody just made that up overnight?
The testimonies of family members, Andy, his cousin, he could still be a liable witness even in the second trial because he received the actual letter.
We're not even going to talk about the handful of outcry witnesses that are in the chat.
And these are family members of these parents. Now you would think, okay, oh no, they my sister, or they my aunt, whatever the case. No, these are family members who are in support of the brothers.
I feel like the impact of child abuse is something that today's society is
more. But
yeah,
that was in the 80s.
That was in the 80s.
When teachers could hit the kids.
Yeah.
When mental health was non-existent. Like, that was then. This is now.
This is now.
Oh!
The Peacock documentary also just chef's kiss. I really love the way they did everything. Roy Rosello, we wish you the very best. And Leslie Abramson, wherever you at, girl, I hope you live lavish. The documentary points out that when you're put down and undergoing years of abuse, you don't feel like you can escape. Cliff Gardner, who is the Menendez appeal attorney, said in the Peacock documentary, and I quote, "We understand that people who are abused and are sexually abused for years basically have enormous consequences on their ability to deal with the rest of their life. The best example I can think of is the battered woman who her husband when her husband is sleeping rather than simply leaving. And the reason is because she's been battered for so many years that leaving isn't an option. The battered woman thinks in her head that their abuser is someone that's going to find her and later her if she tries to run.
Even still in 2024, a lot of people kind of do not understand the concept of mental abuse. Just because you cannot see it does not mean it's not there. Mental abuse can be just as damaging to the brain as it is physical abuse to the body.
That's what they were talking about. That's what imperfect self-defense is. What I just said about battered women. Today's society now sees that as imperfect self-defense. Back then, that wasn't the case.
Yeah.
How did you feel about the judge throwing away the...
I feel like they made it...
One of the on the documentary was like, I think the judge done it based out of good law. I was like, are you That was based out of peer pressure.
It was peer pressure from the OJ thing. It was political. They wanted to make sure the prosecution wins. And it was this big misunderstanding of mental health. Nobody gave a fuck about mental health in the 80s. What was that? So it was both of those played hand in hand as to why it went the way it did.
I really do hope and pray that Erik and Lyle Menendez do get out as soon as possible. I do want to point out the amount of strength that both of these men have.
Yes.
To endure everything they've endured from literally the moment they came out of the womb till now.
So now,
if you really want to know what I feel like the one thing this case needed, it was nuance and more of a perspective on things. It wasn't about getting off scot-free. It was about a lesser sentence. It was about them being able to have the life they never had. Just because they was rich, obviously, didn't mean a mother thing.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people also get tripped on even today. Oh, they had money, they could have left. What money? Their father's money? What are you talking about? Oh, they could have left, they could have disappeared. How? They were just kids that wanted to, young adults that wanted to live a life. Okay, that happened in my childhood. Okay, let me go off to college and let me just start fresh.
Yes.
And they couldn't even fucking do that. If they were able to do that, they would have left it alone. But they get older, you get your own money, you start your own shit. They would have never talked to their parents again.
Whoever the judge is, please grant them the relief they've never gotten. Please.
They don't even need that December hearing date because November 25th.
Tati's like, y'all are getting out, period.
Eating some good old Thanksgiving food.
Stay tuned. The Freedom Savage podcast will be right back. Do you want to get some locks or need help maintaining locks you have already? Crown Kinks got you covered. Yes, you heard that right. The goddess of locks got you covered. With Crown Kinks, it's your hair, so it's your say. And if you get a little hungry, don't even worry about it. Free snack and beverage refreshments will be provided to you. DM on Instagram at Crown Kinks to discuss pricing, bookings, consultations, and all other inquiries. All is welcome as long as respect is shown to the wonderful at-home business. As a proud client, I can assure you, your hair will be done with great precision and an incredible amount of care. Wait 1 second, we're not finished. Do you want to take home your own lock gel, lock shampoo, and rose water? Soon, Crown Kinks' lock products will be in your hands in no time. Quaygold's Beauty is a luxury business that sells essential beauty products such as lashes, lip glosses, matte lip gloss, lip scrubs, body scrubs, candles, and jewelry. Don't even let me hold you back. Go ahead and DM at QuayGoldsBeauty _ to get your hand on the products that you need. Turn on your mics. We're back with the Freedom Savage podcast. All right, you guys, so we are in our last segment, Savage Court. For this segment of Savage Court, we are going to focus primarily on Law & Order SVU inspired cases like we did in our last episode. We decided to kind of keep things fictional for this Savage Court segment, being that we just touched upon a lot of heavy real life shit. Tati, without further ado, give us our first case.
So the first one is season 1, episode 21. This boy was assaulted by his piano teacher, and he later grew up as an adult and turned into a predator himself. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like every predator was once a victim?
Before I answer your question directly, I do want to add that episode did bring that up as a question because Elliot, he dealt with a lot of sick bastards every day. He had a very low tolerance for child abusers. He would have not objected to putting a child abuser's head through a wall. He did not give a back then. So that episode really kind of tested who gets his respect in a way, because this boy that they ended up finding out was a predator, they were only looking at as a victim because the piano teacher had tapes. He had tapes of him abusing his piano students, and he was on the tapes. It was a series of just him on tapes from when he was younger
up
to
until
his actual adult. They had empathy for him because from what they knew, he was a victim until they found a tape of him as an adult at that time alongside the piano teacher abusing the kid whose case they were currently looking at. Elliot kind of found himself in a dilemma wow, I had so much empathy and respect for you. Should I still have it? Or that was kind of, I think, what made the episode get a little wonky.
not every victim becomes a predator, but
So to answer your question, not every victim becomes a predator. Just because you're abused or something happens to you as a child, enough people have the mental awareness to know, okay, this happened to me. I shouldn't want to or shouldn't
and it's
put that on my
wrong.
kids.
It's wrong.
It's wrong. Whoever I bring into this world should not endure what I did. I've encountered a lot of people in my life that have an understanding of that. Like I told you guys before, my mom was abused. She always told herself that she was going to be there for her kids, more there than her family was for her. You know, it's not true. Every victim doesn't become a predator.
But do you feel like every predator has been a victim?
I feel like some people are just born or develop that sickness. I've seen cases of that where it just happens. But in a lot of cases, it's mainly because they were victimized
Because
first.
they were victims 1st.
Yeah.
I was a victim when I was younger. I know the person who did it to me. He's a family member, but he was a victim as well.
I still don't have sympathy.
Yeah, I don't have sympathy at all, but I know more so like 9 times out of 10, the predator was once a victim.
Hurt people hurt people.
Yeah, literally, basically. Do you feel like there's like a rehabilitation?
If we're talking about child molestation, then I don't think so. If I'm a parent and I hear from somebody that's like working or like, you know, just whatever, oh yeah, I was a child molester, but I got over that. You think I'm still sending my kids over to?
You know, obviously he was a victim, became a predator. What would you give a person, like as a judge?
Because of who that boy was, like when you watch the episode, there would be a part of you that still feels a little bit of empathy for him.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You would have to watch that episode to know what we're talking about. I think it's a case by case scenario. I know that piano teacher was guilty. That old that started this whole shit, he was guilty.
Yes.
And I think he was sent to jail swiftly. Like the episode wasn't even about him. He got sent to jail in the first 3 minutes. It was lock up, throw away the key. I think they just didn't want him to become him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They didn't want him to become.
It was early, like he was just an adult.
Again, I wouldn't have sent my kids to his house. He couldn't have babysit my kids.
No, me neither.
So it's also like, okay, he probably could have been rehabilitated, but with society, I gave him the chance.
Mm.
Get him out of here!
Where's the bottles?
Where are the bottles? Like, where are the bottles? That's some deep shit.
I feel like that's a case study, really. Like
That's really a case study. Oh, look, if the girlies want to write their little think pieces, I'm gonna say write in the comments. If you guys want to answer Tati's question, answer it in the comments. Let us know how y'all feel about it.
So the next case, season 17, episode 13. This is basically about the bystander effect.
Is that the one where the lady was assaulted in front of her building and all of her neighbors saw and didn't do a thing?
Mm-hmm. Saw or heard and didn't do anything. It happens every day, first of all. That's a big thing to even touch base on because it happens every day. Whether somebody drops a pen, you kind of want to pick it up, but you don't because you think somebody else is going to pick it up, or something as bad as a woman being assaulted and nobody's doing anything because you think someone else already is handling the situation. In this episode specifically, they interviewed a lot of the neighbors in the building. Do you think that it should be some type of repercussions for bystanders that obviously admit to seeing or hearing the crime and not doing anything? It's actually real life cases of people actually.
There are real life cases of people actually because of this bystander effect thing. Actually, that episode was inspired by a 1960s case that actually coined the term because the lady was. The witnesses that saw everything happen to her literally did not do a motherfucking thing.
Yeah.
To answer your question, I'm not sure. I know that if I saw that happen, I would call them cops. I don't know about that whole.
In New York, a lot of times with us New Yorkers, we mind our business. I feel like it should be that to a certain extent. I feel like I was kind of a victim of the bystander effect because when I was a teenager and I was sitting at McDonald's by myself waiting. I think I was waiting for the bus. It was a school morning. And this older man kept coming on to me and I had to keep telling him to stop. Mind you, this is 8 a.m. in the morning, McDonald's, New York City. It's packed. No grown man, no grown woman, no adult came to my aid to say, you know, are you okay? Or to tell this other grown man to leave me alone. I was a minor. I was a kid. I had a book bag on. I was physically beating this man with my umbrella because it was raining that day. And I had the big umbrella. I was physically beating this man with my umbrella, telling him to leave me alone. And nobody did nothing in this McDonald's. with full of people. I'm like, is it because we in New York City and people mind their business, or is it because of you think somebody else is about to step in and ultimately nobody does?
Okay, playing devil's advocate, because some people may have assumed that the guy was like your father or a guardian of some sort.
No,
Okay.
because how he was dressed, he was always on that corner, like, and the body language, what I'm telling him, like, this is a man bothering a young girl.
If you were in that predicament, would you have called the cops if you saw that lady getting assaulted outside?
Yeah, if I look out my window and I see there's a woman being assaulted,
And she's yelling and she's screaming.
yeah,
I'm gonna call the cops.
me too.
What the hell can they do for me from my high-rise apartment? Actually, I think somebody did try to call the cops, but one of them punched the lady in the face when some lady tried to call the cops. He had punched her in the face and took her phone. Some lady that was walking outside and saw like something was wrong. And the only reason why the lady was able to even win her case was because her friend actually did see everything. And he also kind of, I guess, fell into like the whole bystander effect of it all. And he didn't say anything at first, but he did end up coming forward, and his testimony actually got the guys in the episode put away. I don't think I would have fell into the bystander effect. I'm not going to lie. I think I would have called the cops. Do I feel like there should be a punishment or cruelty on it, to be honest with you?
Maybe not like cruelty as far as time and stuff like that, but I'm just like, it could something be done about that? Like, it's like we're in New York City. They have to tell us to say something when we see something. I don't feel like it should be like a hardcore crime and time, but I just feel like, could something be done about that? Like, about this whole bystander effect thing, because it has taken a lot of lives.
What are ways to not fall into that?
I feel like
Jordan Neely's case was a matter of bystander effect. The guy that was choked on the train by the guy last year.
Yes, and that's a perfect example. Yeah, I feel like it was. Nobody stopped him. Nobody.
Just recorded it.
Yeah. No, I don't know what should be done. You don't need time for that, but something has to be done, because it's like, why are you recording and not helping? Why is nobody coming together and deciding that, all right, this is not about to happen. Let's diffuse this. Let's break this up. Let's, whatever the situation is, let's
handle it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I don't know what could be done, but I do agree that
something.
There should have been like 100 911 calls that night. Like,
and it was not one.
Because it's that mentality of somebody else might do something. It don't take nothing to call, and then you're in a high-rise apartment.
Yeah.
Who can get to you?
Who is seeing you?
Y'all all ended up having to testify anyway. So, and like Carisi said, here go everybody with their phones and shit when they actually went to go arrest these boys.
Yeah.
It's like, where was his energy tonight? The woman was alive. Like you said, something should be done about that for sure. I know we touched on a lot of cases this episode. This was a real heavy episode. This is like right after Halloween. This is really some heavy shit we got into. Stay tuned for the next one and everything else that I have in store. And yeah, that's really about it. Y'all already know where to hit me up. And yeah, bye y'all.
There's a difference between hearing and listening. You get it. A passion, a spirit, a devotion. We're making magic. Come on and talk when you got